Good morning, everybody. Mulibwanji and Zantwa in Malawi. My name is Natasha Maluza. I am the Communications and Engagement Officer here at the SMP, VIPs Chair or Protocols Observed. So today's meeting, I'm just going to go through a few housekeeping rules for all our attendees in person. So there are no fire drills today. So there won't be any surprise from our end, well, hopefully. So we have 2 cameras in the building at the moment, well, in this room at the moment. So we call them the owls. So we have 1 owl over here and then the owl behind you. So how the owl works is basically when you're speaking, the owl will detect your face and your voice, and it will move to you so that our friends online can actually see you and hear you. So I'll also ask that if you're sitting at the back, so the louder you speak, the more likely it is for the owl to actually detect your voice. So all our toilets are located right outside. So once you walk outside this door right here, just turn to your right, and then to your right again, we have the male and female toilet outside. For everyone looking for the Wi-Fi is called it's called Assembly Rooms Internet. And all you need to do is just put in your email address. For everybody else online, would please ask that you turn on your video and you unmute yourself when you want to partake in the conversation. And please note that this meeting is also being recorded. And if you could also introduce yourself in the chat, so if you could just drop your name and your email address as well. And know that the chat log will also be put online on our event page as a resource as well. So you can always look at the chat log a little later on to get some contact off there if you'd like to. And please remain muted when you're not speaking or partaking in the conversation. And you can also live tweet as well. So on Twitter, we are Scotland, Malawi. So that's just Scotland, Malawi on Twitter. And you can tag us on there with any pictures or any sort of conversations that you want to carry on to there as well. And if we have any attendees in the room or online that are not SMP members, please make sure to sign up for membership. It's very, very, very affordable. And also just keeps our Malawi and Scotland's very engaged as well. I know that my colleague Dorothea might be dropping the membership link on the chat at the moment. And after the event, we will send out a survey link. We only have 3 questions on there. So if you could please kindly fill out the survey. This does help us and the Scottish government just keeping track of what we're actually doing. So that we'll be very grateful for that. And after the meeting as well, we do have some coffee and I think some biscuits as well outside. So mingle and catch up with some old and new friends. That would be lovely. And I will now hand over the meeting to our chair of the SMP Renewables Forum today, which is Mr. Stuart Galloway.
Thank you. Thank you, Natasha. Good morning, everybody. So I'm really here today to try and run this forum. But firstly, I'd like to welcome our presenters, some colleagues who are here from the University of Strathclyde, but in particular, just all the attendees who are here and online. Welcome to the Renewable Energy Forum. So I would like to start maybe by just giving you a little bit of perspective on a bit about who I am and why we're involved in renewables. So I'm a professor at the University of Strathclyde. My expertise really is in renewable energy systems, and we have been looking at international projects for a number of years. And maybe over the last 10 or so years, we've had projects that have been linked with Africa, and in particular in Malawi. And a lot of that work really has been linked directly with Scottish government funded activity. So over that period, we've worked on a number of different projects with a wide range of sort of partners, both in Scotland and also in Malawi. So that would include things like Self-Help Africa, who were formerly UNDP. We have an energy hubs group who we work with Community Energy Malawi, and we've used these mechanisms as being to strengthen the impact and the uptake of our renewables message for renewable energy. And we have also used this as the basis for establishing good, firm technical friendships around our work. So some of the projects that we've been involved with really have been linked specifically with mini grids and are also focused on, like the productive uses of energy. So from an engineering point of view, if you'll forgive me for dipping into some technical things, sometimes you need to, it's actually, electricity is very simple in some ways. You've got a supply and balance. You've got the thing you're producing, which is electricity, and you're trying to link that with the consumption and how it's used. So when we're looking at how we would link in with partners in Malawi and elsewhere, we're very much starting from that point of view. How are people using energy? What are the productive uses that they're already undertaking? And how might we support that through the provision of renewable energy services? So two of the big projects that we've been involved with, one of them is just kind of coming to an end. One of them is known as the EASE project. And in that project, we've been working with partners in Malawi to provide what we would call energy hubs. So it's essentially a sort of solar panel PV hub. And from that, we would provide people with access to energy. So we provide the sort of services, they provide the demand. So about that supply and demand balance again. But what I think is quite differentiated in that project, particularly from the point of view of an engineer, is the fact that we're trying to run, give people energy so that they can use that to start businesses effectively and generate income. And in doing so, they, I think maybe people in Scotland as well as in Malawi understand, energy doesn't come for free. So there's a balance between these things. So I think by providing that sort of set of services, we've been able to operate some mini grids in Malawi that have been quite successful, I think. And I think in doing so gives more visibility to energy for the consumers. So I think both of these features are quite important. I mean, there's sort of nuances about how the business model works there, where it's run sort of like a social enterprise, where sort of the profits from the mini grids are recycled back into its operation and maintenance, which I think, is an important part as well for giving people a sense of ownership of the thing that they're undertaking. So I think energy can be quite invisible. It just kind of happens. Sometimes it just comes like magic out of the walls sort of thing. So I think that anything that can make it more tangible, I think, is a sort of key consideration. So this range of activities really has actually very much broadened the engagement that we've had in renewable energy in the university, and particularly about how it's been looked at in developing countries. So this has led us to do some sort of quite significant PhD work around some of these activities. So the two that kind of come to mind really, one is linked with about the interface between the grid and off-grid systems. So like root mini grids, which is one of the areas we've been working in, and how that fits in with the grid expansion by the national utility companies. Because I think sometimes, particularly for politicians, if you'll forgive me, they often talk at a very high level, but actually it's at that point of connection where a lot of the challenges are. So we've had some really good PhD work. A PhD student of mine, a guy called Chikuku, he did some really excellent work in that area. And the other area where I think, which is not just in Malawi where there's interest, is in clean cooking and the uptake of really electrified cooking in that setting. So electrically, that brings a lot of challenges to smaller grids, particularly as you bring on very costly loads. And as a result, there's a sort of social desire to try and take these things on, but there's also sort of technical challenges that need to be addressed. So anyway, I think I'll move on. I think the other thing I wanted to mention really was that during the period that we've been working with Scottish Government and with partners in Malawi, at my university and some others across Scotland have been developing how they are really engaging in sustainability. So, and I think, in university language, sustainability is very much a kind of cross-cutting theme. No one kind of area takes ownership of it. Many different sort of features of sort of science and research, engineering, they all feel they've got something to contribute there. So in the university, at Strathclyde, we've set up the Centre for Sustainable Development, and I'm very proud of that that's actually happened, because it's allowed us to kind of coalesce lots of different sorts of research activity, which is feeding into essentially the delivery of the Sustainable Development Goals. That's another sort of framing piece for that. So I think that's been a very important development for us. It's also been useful for the university itself, because it's really advertising its commitment to the delivery of the Sustainable Development Goals, rather than it just being a bit sort of bitty and maybe floaty perhaps. So that's something that's I've been very proud of, actually. Maybe finally, the last thing to say really is an initiative that I'm leading on, which is called the Global Renewables Centre for International Partnerships. So this is again for Scottish Government funded work. It's a knowledge exchange activity, and it's based really on our experience, out of collective experience over the last 10 years of doing these energy projects. And within that sort of environment, there's a number of different partners, people with lots of different types of objectives, but lots of people who want to contribute. So this centre really offers a sort of knowledge exchange hub, really, which is trying to link people who've got an interest and and possibly a particular sense of purpose around renewable energy and how these two can be brought together. So that would be, you know, from civil society, from academia, from industry, and across the NGO base. So it's trying to link these different communities together. For a long time, or on different occasions, colleagues at the Scottish Government had mentioned about the idea around trying the global citizenship model that they have, which has been very successfully run in healthcare programmes, in policing and the like, and they were asking me about how that would work in energy. Now, for a long time, I thought, I'm not sure. I could understand how nurses could maybe go overseas, get some good experience and help out directly. I always thought, what are engineers going to do? Go to Malawi and dig a hole and put a cable in it? Never really worked for me, really. But in the last year or so, I've really changed my opinion on this. And I was really strongly influenced by a conversation that I had with some Malawian people who really changed my perspective on it. And really what they were saying was that it was the knowledge exchange part was so powerful. It was actually starting those conversations and bringing those people together. You don't have to start with the operational projects. It really starts with conversations. And that is the essence, really, of the beginnings of the Global Renewables. And it's beginning those conversations across a number of different groups. So, So, anyway, I am thrilled, really, that we're here today discussing renewable energy. It's really a passion for me. And it's also a passion for me about giving and providing people with access to energy. Something that maybe a lot of people take for granted in certain places, but in many other areas, it's something that's rather precious. So with that in mind, we've got a good range of speakers today on our agenda, and I'm just about to hand over to those. So hopefully you're familiar with that online. There should be a link that Chad has made available. You should all have access to that. So during the discussion we're going to have today, there'll be a Q&A that we can run. But I'd also like to encourage those online to basically put their questions in the chat, and we'll try our best to address those, during the meeting today. And if we don't, and there could be some follow-ups afterwards, we'll be very happy. Hopefully the questions will not be too technical, but if they are, we'll try our best to try and pick them up later on. So yeah, I think that's worth maybe noting. So I think with that in mind, I think the different speakers today will probably just introduce themselves as they come up. I think they'll probably do a better job than I will. And I think on that basis, I'll maybe hand over to the next presenter. So thank you very much and welcome to the meeting today. So Soustain, thank you.
Hello, the speaker is muted. We can't hear.
There we go.
Thank you so much. So these are some of the partners that we work with. We work first and foremost with the Malawi government, the UNDP, a cross number of development partners and industry associations like the GOGLA, the Global Off-Grid Alliance for Lighting. We work with, like on the current project, we are working with the University of Strathclyde. We work with the other partners like AFSIA. We collaborate with industrial research, the universities in Malawi as well, and NGOs, Safe Web Africa, Solar 8, and other partners to ensure that issues of renewable energy we understand are cross-cutting across various sectors and industries.
Now we're gonna have a different problem. Oh dear.
Thank you so much. So our impact areas, we work in as I already said, we work in a number of areas and we deal with our different partners. So one of our impact areas is basically to create opportunities for networking within Malawi and across. And in 2022, REIAMA hosted the Energy Catalyst Lounge 9 brokerage visit to Malawi under Innovate UK, and we are pleased to report that a number of grants and partnerships were signed off and people have gone into research as a result of such a networking event where we had about 15 investors, research institutions and individuals from the United Kingdom to Malawi. Another area of impact is dissemination of information through workshops and national conferences. So this was the 2023 Malawi National Energy Conference. We had participants from Malawi as well as from the region, as well as from Scotland. You can see Damien Frame in the picture and Erin else. Right, so this was in Salima and it was quite engaging because we had government, we had NGOs. The event was graced by the Minister of Energy, Ibrahim Matola, the principal, the Secretary for Energy was there, government officials, UNDP officials, where issues of energy, the challenges and the solutions were discussed, recommendations were made, and a communique was issued to for actioning. Of recent, REIAMA, as part of our impact area, is lobbying and advocacy, and we know fiscal incentives are very important in terms of getting renewables across low-income areas. This is something that, as REIAMA, we have been lobbying for many years. We are thankful to the Malawi government that they have been listening to our lobby and advocacy, having removed value-added tax and duty on most of our renewable energy products. But it hasn't ended there. Some of the products are still actually have duty. For example, a solar water pump controller attracts both duty and value-added tax, whereby the solar pump itself is tax exempt. So what I'm saying is you can't have one thing tax exempt, but the complement part has got taxes. So we engaged the Minister of Finance in January this year, 2024, the Malawi Revenue Authority, the Minister of Energy, Minister of Trade and Industry, just to ensure that we can lobby that they should expand the exemption list of renewable energy products that are tax-free in order for the low-income people from Malawi to be able to access, but even for projects that they can have a larger impact. So we're waiting for the budget that we hope will be presented very soon because Parliament is in session. So we would like to see action from this lobby and advocacy. Just like the Professor Galloway has said, the University of Strathclyde has been actually doing an EAST project in Malawi, and REIAMA has been promoting innovation and collaboration. And actually, a project like this in Tembanji Solar Mini Grid in Dedza, actually one of our REIAMA members, a BNG electrical contractor, was the one actually that partnered with the University of Strathclyde under the EAST project to set up this, and it's a smart grid. It can be monitored online. People are able to buy the kilowatt hours, the energy online. So as REIAMA, we are very happy that we can bring partners together and our members can be of value for project delivery. We also did another event on various verified products. You know, quality is very important in renewable energy. So we partner with the GIZ and energizing development to ensure that our members of REIAMA are importing or developing products that are of quality. So this was one of the workshops that we had last year, engaging members and ensuring that only quality products are offered to the market. Now, coming to the main theme of our discussion this morning is the climate crisis. As we are all aware, climate change is real. Scotland actually hosted COP26 just a few years ago and made actually commitments and support towards making the world a better place through sustainable energy in line with sustainable development goals, in particular SDG 7. Malawi is no exception. We are meeting challenges. We're talking now, it's summer and we expected to have the rains for the agricultural season, but it has been almost a month that the rains haven't come. They started, people planted, but now crops are wilting. You can see this family. I just got this picture like 2 years ago from our church group, and it's just outside Blantyre, Malawi. In Chileka, a family crop have wilted. Imagine a family invested all their money to buy farm inputs, energy, time put into that. They have a family to feed, and just because of our climate change, here's a family challenged like that. And this is a country, Malawi is a country that's coming actually from just Cyclone Freddy that devastated the country last year. Crops were washed away. There is hunger now in Malawi. People have planted, and another climate crisis is hitting. It is very saddening and heart-touching. Now, probably now the question is, what's the solution? As an industry association in renewable energy, we think small-scale and large-scale solar powered irrigation is the way, because we cannot now predict the climate. We cannot just rely on the natural weather. We need to be innovative. We need to bring solutions that solve the problem. So these are some of the solutions that our members are providing to the communities. On the left, actually, that's a green impact technologies, GIT, demonstrating the solar water pump for small scale irrigation. And on the other hand, it's actually a larger scale irrigation done by one of our members, FICIT, to irrigate, provide water to communities, animals, as well as to grow crops. So I'll finish with a video that basically demonstrates how solar water irrigation can impact climate change and make people live better with a predictable life. Thank you.
Now,
It's a short video.
hoping I hit the right share thing for this.
Is a national security issue. At present, cyclones and El Niños of unprecedented strength are headlining many of our food production problems in Malawi and beyond. With the current unpredictability of the climate and lack of access to modern farming techniques, let alone water, the driving force of all nature, farmers' livelihoods hinge precariously on a changing environment that they are struggling to understand. Unless Malawi uses modern technologies, our farmers' output will remain low, consequently making us dependent on neighboring countries for our staple food. Investments in agriculture are the best weapons against hunger and poverty. and they have made lives of those with access better. To make the lives of Mlawoga farming community better, with funding from the International Fund for Agriculture Development, IFAD, through the Program for Rural Irrigation Development, PRIDE, the Malawi government, through the Department of Irrigation, is building the resilience of the farmers in the area, with Feast Limited Company's sustainable irrigation technologies that help farmers adapt to climate change. Here, water is pumped from the Chila River via 2 submersible pumps with a capacity of 229 liters per second each. The pumps are driven by a 288 kilowatt solar array of 570 solar modules. This water is then conveyed to a 10,000 cubic meters reservoir some 1.5 kilometers away for both storage and supply to a 138 hectare farmland. The project has also brought other benefits to the community. Now, the areas have connectivity to the national electricity grid, good roads, and piped water at the primary school.
Yeah, so that's a demonstration on how we can innovate and combat climate change. We have problems on one side, we have got solutions on the other side. How can we scale up to this? The key challenge actually is financing. So what we want to call upon as an industry association is that we need more collaboration on how to unlock funding, either in grant form or in form of loans, so that technologies like this at small scale or at large scale can be scaled up to make Malawi more resilient. I would like to thank you for your attention. Have a great day. Thank you.
So thank you, Soustain. That was a very informative and a good link there. We got a good double act. You did a better job than me, I think, in presenting our work. So thank you. Our next speaker is Alex. I think, is that right? I'm not sure who's picking this up. It's either Alex or Rosa.
Yeah.
Right. Please come up. Thank you.
Hello, so my name is Rosa. I'm the Fundraising and Scottish Relations Manager for Tiyeni, which is a Scottish, UK Malawian NGO that does sustainable agriculture work. So yeah, normally it would be the Executive Director, Alex, who would be presenting this, but he is actually in Malawi right now working on this Aftrak, which is our solar energy solution to food and energy insecurity in Africa. So I think, so he had a brief video which from him and the team, which I emailed you.
Would you like to start with the video?
Yeah, I think maybe.
We're swapping screen sharing here. So Tash, I'll screen share the video and then come back to you.
Okay, because I sent, yeah, there were some issues with sending files because it didn't seem to.
Sorry, that was working earlier.
Yeah, I apologize. I think this was just a very short video of them saying hello. So if it doesn't work, that's.
Well, hello everyone from Stellenbosch. I'm afraid we can't be with you today. We're packing everything up and sending it to Malawi. As you can just see, the Aftrak unit is there, ready to go to Malawi. So it's goodbye from us.
Yep, take care and we'll see you when we get back. Thank you very much. Bye.
All right, so that was just
Very short.
showing their faces, I suppose, making it a bit more personal. But yeah, then there was a brief PowerPoint as well. Yeah. So yeah, what this is Aftrak, which is a solar powered tractor that can be used for farming on the small scale farms in, well, we've been doing it for Malawi. I should say that I am not the expert on this. I haven't been heavily involved in it, but again, since our executive director is busy doing that, then I'm the one presenting on it for now. But if you do have any questions afterwards, please come and ask me, and I can give you the contact information for people who can answer your questions in more depth. But if we want to go, yeah, so I assume, as pretty much everyone in this room would know, 3.1 million smallholder farmers in Malawi that almost exclusively rely on using hand tools for subsistence farming, although many of them don't actually make it to subsistence farming. Yeah, more than yeah, so this all contributes more than 90% of export earnings. I think everyone here is familiar with these facts and figures. So what this is a solar microgrid, yeah, capable of generating up to 7 kilowatt-hours per day for supplying the village to support these micro electric tractors that enable deep bed farming, which is the type of regenerative agriculture that my organization Tiyeni does training and promotion in Malawi. So deep bed farming is really good on both sustainability and income generation level. It more than doubles crop yields in the first year. It helps increase farmers' income and also helps them move from just subsistence level farming to other business levels of that. So then with this, the increased revenue with the Aftrak would also allow revenue generation from energy sales. And we can go to the next. So it's solar battery powered. It prepares the earth to 400 millimeters of depth. It's self-propelling, usable by energy, and energy vector with AC power and USB charging. What more could you ask for? So it's a microgrid based system, integrated power. We've said how much kilowatt hours, and it provides hard wired power to home and also to homes, and also charges these tractors. So just about the deep bed farming. This is we've already reached 30,000 farmers. I think the 50% is a bit outdated because our current statistic is now that over 65% of the farmers that Tiyeni has trained are women, and this technique has been officially approved by the Malawian Ministry of Agriculture, which is quite exciting. 12-fold increase in profit, 2-fold increase in crop yield. I did not prepare this. So then with Aftrak, the market is the smallholder farmers. The concept is this micro electric tractor microgrid, and the customers are these smallholder farmers. And then there are different revenue models for this. There are farmer owned, farmer leased, and solar revenue supported. So I think the first two are fairly self-explanatory, but with the latter, then it's with the power going back to the grid. You want to go to So our partners for this are Tiyeni, which is my organization, Loughborough University, and the Consortium for Battery Innovation. So the latter two have been doing all the technical engineering side of things, and then Tiyeni's been doing the work about integrating that into our deep bed farming method. So again, apologies for the kind of choppy presentation. Alex would have done a much better job if he were available, but he is up in Malawi doing that work with getting it all unleashed, I suppose. Connected to the people who are actually in the midst of that. So again, apologies for the choppiness, but yes, that's what I have for now.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Thank you, Rosa. I'll maybe get some questions, I think, as we go, but just to remind people if they've got any questions, to put them into the chat. We'll do our best to sort of field them and get them addressed by the speakers. I think our next speaker, if I'm right, is from a series of speakers actually to do with learning. And I think if we're in the right order, it's Chikuku. Is that right? You up first? In that case, hopefully Chad can find your slides and we will hand over to him. Hand over to you. Yeah, that's fine. Rosa, I had a question, if you don't mind, maybe while we're filling in some of the IT gaps, which was about the battery technology, and is some thought being given to like the end of life, you know, like how long the battery might last, when you might need to replace it, and then perhaps what kind of recycling would take place associated with that?
That is something that unfortunately I cannot answer because I haven't been involved in the engineering side of things, but I can definitely, the people who do that would definitely be able to answer that, so I can give you my card after this and then send an email to everybody with your question and also just introducing you, because I'm sure people would love to have a conversation.
Yeah, of course, that would be great, thank you, that would be.
Apologies that I can't give
No, there's no
more.
need to apologise, it's perfectly fine. I think people that are pushing technology, I believe they've very much got to keep these things in mind. It's quite, and as you could see some of the things that Soustain was mentioning there, as well as kind of commonality, but the solutions you need to fit in, it needs to be the right solution for the problem, basically.
Yeah, definitely. I appreciate you bringing up that point because I know that's definitely a big thing to consider with solar powered energies.
Without a doubt. We're good to go?
Yes.
Great.
There's no slides for the next, for two.
Impressive. Good. Okay, you're up.
Hello, everyone. Yes, my name is Chikuku Katebe. The project manager and the current projects that we're having in Zambia. And I'm coming from the Zambia Renewable Energy Association. I'm here with my colleague, Ms. Chilombo Chila. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a quick run-up of what Zambia Renewable Energy Association is all about. And later on, I'll invite Chilombo Chila to talk about the agriculture sector, about what is going on in Zambia. So Zambia Renewable Energy Association is an umbrella body for all the different associations in Zambia, and it started in 2017. Okay, so Zambia Renewable Energy Association has been having different activities and programs, and we've had different workshops, conferences, and training programs. And we continue to develop partnerships with different research centers and universities. Yeah, and we also work with the government on different programs as well. And Zambia Renewable Energy Association at the moment has about 70% student membership. And we also have like 30 plus individuals and professions and something like about 6 or 7 companies. So at the moment, we are trying to expand the solar, the wind, hydro, and bioenergy capacity to increase energy access. We are also creating and enabling policies and regulations to attract investors. And we're also mobilizing the public and private financing for new renewable energy projects. And the other thing that we're doing is building local skills and expertise through training programs and research. So we recently had a partnership with the University of Strathclyde through the GRC program, and we aim to establish Renewables collaboration hub, and we'll create knowledge exchange ecosystems and workshops and linkage research, and also we'll focus on empowering youths, women, and the marginalized groups, and we'll also accelerate the energy transition through innovation and context-specific solution. Yes, at this point, quickly I'll invite my colleague, Ms. Chilombo to talk about the agri sector.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Yeah, so my name is Chilombo, as introduced by Chikuku. I'm also part of the RENA, but I think I'll try and give a perspective of the energy agriculture situation in Zambia. And this is both from the planning point of view as well as project implementation. So I don't have any slides, yeah, but I'll try to give as much information as I can from my position from which I stand in the Zambian sector. So just like Malawi, though we didn't have the cyclone, we've equally been hit badly by climate change. So we predominantly hydro, so even our electricity generation is from hydro, about over 80% of that. So for Zambia, it's not water, it's not energy food,
but it's more or less of a trio because it has to do with water, energy, and food, because for us, that's a main source of electricity. And if we have to expand this to be able to grow food for the country, I think we have to equally consider water in this sense. So just recently, that was actually last week, so Zambia launched the first integrated resource plan for electricity. And this has to do with both on-grid and off-grid electricity. And with that, there was a demand work stream that was part of the IRP, where a lot of contribution came through the through the agriculture sector. And this is ramping up wheat production from the current below 3,000 metric tons per annum to 15 million metric tons per annum. So there's also been a policy direction to ramp up soya production as well as maize production. And for these amounts of production that we have to consider, there has to be a lot of technologies and innovation that has to be incorporated to support government in order to meet these needs. And so with doing this, I think there's a high contribution of renewable energy that has been proposed to be incorporated in these agricultural activities. And just not off-grid, but also maybe even solar pumping systems that can help rural areas, because we're just not looking at this situation as a food to mouth kind of situation, but also at a socioeconomic kind of level that would equally benefit the country. So there's quite a lot that has been highlighted in the integrated resource plan that I'm more than willing to share. But I think for the agriculture sector, there is a lot of potential, and there is a lot of potential for us to be able to implement renewable energy projects. And I was just looking at Malawi. I think we have to also come up with Scotland, Zambia initiatives that will equally help a lot of people in rural areas in being able to just improve their livelihoods through agricultural activities vis-a-vis renewable energy technologies. Yeah, so just in a nutshell, that is what is off my mind, but I think we can share more if there's more interest and see what more opportunities we can unfold from that. So thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much. So some two interesting talks there. I think that it speaks very well to the purpose of the GRC, really about the communication side of things. And I talked about linking Scotland to overseas countries, but it's as much about fostering communication, you know, across our African partners as it is from Scotland across the globe. So Serge, I think, is the next speaker. I'll let you introduce yourself.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, hello everyone. Yeah, my name is Serge Muhizi, and I'm from Rwanda. Yes, and I'm coming from an organization which is called EPD, and EPD in full word is Energy Private Developers. So I'm not alone in this room. I came under this partnership of GRC with my colleague. She's the head of female inclusion in the energy sector in Rwanda. Mrs. Allen, can you stand up and say hello? Yeah, thank you very much. So I'm not going to talk much about the organization, because I was requested, you know, to focus a lot on the different initiatives on PE in Rwanda currently. But in the nutshot, EPD, as I've already said, is the umbrella of currently we have 200 companies operating from different subsectors. So currently we have 10 subsectors under EPD. We have companies in the methane gas. Those are the companies that are extracting methane gas from the Lake Kivu and transform it into grids. And also soon there is some projects, you know, to transform, you know, the methane gas into LPG, liquefied petroleum gas. so that people can use it in the clean as a clean cooking solution. So we have some hydro companies who have managed secure some PPAs, purchasing power agreement with the government, to feed the national grid with electricity. And we have also another subsector for the CNIs. This is solar for commercial, industrial, and mini grids, both hydro and solar. And we have also another subsector for solar home systems, because currently we have what you call National Electrification Plan, which define a demarcation map where the grid will be attained and the off-grid area in Rwanda, to accelerate the access to electricity. Most of these solar companies, they are providing solar home systems in those off-grid areas. So we have another subsector, which is the productive use of energy, because we believe that there's this part for renewable energy and also another part for where the grid is now currently. And this is an emerging new subsector where we are trying just to put in place different possibilities and mechanisms, to allow the sector to grow. And we have also a clean cooking subsector. It's a very interesting sector now because there is an ambitious, targets in place that Rwanda has to be zero green gas emission by 2030. And so there's a lot of initiative there, and then some subsidy in place from different partners, development partners, governments, and partners, to support this acceleration. So we have also another subsector, which is the female inclusion in the energy sector. It's something that's I know very well. That's not only for our African cases, so we still have a very few engagement of female in the energy sector. Is a component that we are working together with Gerard to see how we can boost numbers of female, participation in the energy sector. So currently we have some renewables, departments under different universities. And so we are looking on how we can bridge this gap between the academic and the industry and bring on board, this female expertise on board. So we have that specific component under EPD today. So, and another subsector, which is very important, is a professional service scientist. And we managed to put together different researchers and scientists from the academia, from different universities in Rwanda. So to see how we can have a private sector which is backed up, by scientific funding or research. So then we have also the LPG. This is a liquefied petroleum gas subsector. Those are the importance because we don't have this source of LPG gas in Rwanda. So we are keeping, importing the LPG, from other places. And yes, some of the activity that we do, this advocacy is one of our main mandates of EPD being there, to advocate for different policy, requests from the private sector, because we work together with our line ministry, which is the Ministry of Infrastructure, Transport and Energy. So to make sure that we are creating, a framework, a policy framework, which is more conducive for the private sector. And of course, to make it possible, we work also with different stakeholders. This includes academicians, I've already mentioned that, these government ministries, and also, academicians, and also development partners and NGOs that we have the same mission, to accelerate the access to clean energy, clean cooking, and also the green transport. I forget another e-mobility subsector. This is another new subsector that we have currently. And the next activity is the capacity building with all those companies that I've already mentioned. So they still have some gaps in terms of access to technology, capacities in terms of employees, capacities in how they can develop some bankable projects, to access to different funds. So all those kind of gaps. So one of our missions to make sure that really we are addressing those gaps, of course, by working with all the stakeholders network that we have. So we have also another activity is the renewable energy awareness campaign. So something that you can believe in, that we still have that gaps, especially for the side of end users who doesn't know yet, grab this different initiative regarding the renewable energy technologies that are in the market. So we make sure that also we are boosting this awareness and make sure that really we are raising, the understanding of this kind of technologies as well. So we have also the component of access to finance, and that we worked on again, and also trade mission, business to business and conferences, and also the energy sector coordination, where we meet with these stakeholders to address different issues. And yes, another component is the energy sector research project, where we are developing a lot of projects again. And also the last one, which is empowering women in renewable energy. So thank you. That was just a snapshot about EP that I wanted to share with you. So go back then to the PUE, as I've already mentioned, it's a new initiative. Actually, we have to learn. We are still learning today, so it's a new subsector. There is a lot of initiatives that are going on now. So we are in touch with Google. Google, I know some of you knows them very well. So we have been working with them on some studies, and now there is a roadmap in place, especially that roadmap provides more or shed more information on the off-grid area. And currently the World Bank also is conducting another study on the grid area. That will be productive use of energy. And they are planning to launch the outcomes of that study in March next month. So, and also there are other initiatives. I was in touch with a colleague who's partnering now with Practical Action. So there's also another company that they're working on there's some activities in the productive use of renewable energy by working with some refugees camp. So there's a lot of initiatives that are going on today in Rwanda because it's still a new component. Of course, it goes with some gaps. So please next. So I'm not going to talk about the PUE because I know that we have more experts about it here. And the stage currently, so it's a young stage, as I've already mentioned, it's not even dated more than 2 years now, where we started, talking about the productive use of energy, renewable, and the grid side. It's still at a very small scale compared to where Malawi is today. I was so much, piqued a lot of interest. And the technology on the market, there is few solar irrigation solution, few grid cold storage facilities, and a few egg incubators as well. So next. Then the main barriers today, and that's we have already, planned a kind of stakeholder meeting, which is going to happen on 27th. And some of the key areas that will be touching these barriers that we are encountering currently. So we have the policy, regulation, and standard, barrier today because it's a new sector, it's a nascent one, and we need to make sure that really, as a private sector, the stakeholders, we are positioning ourselves, by contributing and raise a strong voice, to make sure that really the government is putting into considerations some of the ideas or the proposal that will come up with. So there is a need of strong advocacy to the government putting PUE policy in the national energy framework for execution. So it's still even a new component also it's still a new subject on the side of the media as well. So they need more, to feed more information and more finding and more experiences regarding how, this policy framework and also regulations that have to be put in place. So there's some incentive for the PUE. Advocacy will be required to accept incentives provision by government in the sense of tax exemption. So it's something that we can agree on. This solution, they're still very expensive, especially from the end users. And then now we are looking on how, we can come up with some proposals and, give flow, to everyone who want to come and to support, these different initiatives. So affordable and viable technology on the market. Yes, the private sector have some of the technologies, but we still have this gap regarding on knowing exactly what are different technologies that's on the market so that we can import those technologies and show them to the private sector so that they can be able to serve the market with the right technology and sustainable one. And the next slide. Yes, we still have also some gaps in capacity building, as already mentioned, be it on the side of the gap of the developers or the private sector. So they still have some gaps, especially knowing the existing technologies. Yeah, that's all. And also the capacity building on the side of policymakers. How can they make the right policy framework for that can attract stakeholders, not only the private sector. And we are expecting, to transfer, to knowledge transfer again. So it's something that we want also to learn a lot. under this program. That's, because there are some, sister association who are more advanced on this component. So we are planning, to go and to learn from their expertise as well. And also we have this very sensitive component, which is research. And yes, the research component is a place where we need to boost the knowledge of academicians in our country, so that they can, among the component that they are looking at today, they can also considering, the PUE component among others. And there's another component about access to finance. Actually, we still have a very big hesitation from the side of financials. Those are the banks. This is not only the case for the PUE, it's also the case also for other renewable energy technologies. So these financials are still hesitating a lot, to invest in the energy sector. So it's a component that we would love also to look at to see how we can involve financials and maybe to give them those kind of capacity building, how they can learn, to trust this kind of project as well. So we want also to work on that component as well. And yes, the next one, please. So the market opportunity information, already we have this NEP, it's a National Electrification Plan. I've already touched this one, touched based on this, which is a current map that we have that define the off-grid area and the on-grid area. So that means this can facilitate for every investor who wants to know where to invest, this kind of technologies. And yes, and the plan is that in Rwanda, we have these ambitious targets that's by 2024, end of this year. We have to attain the access to universal access to clean energy. And currently we are at this, we are 74% of the total coverage of electricity, off-grid and on-grid together. So the private sector association level, so we are trying to make sure that really the environment become more conducive, and we'd like to engage more on that. And yes, those are the different solution and technology area of focus, but they are not limited. We are still, bring on board even other information regarding the current, opportunities that we have regarding the solution technologies. Yeah, I think this is the last slide. Yeah. Then the recommendation, yes, or early area of intervention. So I've already touched base this. On this is that we are looking forward to have a conducive PUE policy framework, which is more inclusive, and start enforcing them. And also we are looking also by working with different stakeholders on how we can develop some proposals regarding the incentives that we can still request the ministry in charge to put in place. So, and we are looking forward also to work on different projects on awareness campaigns from both beneficiaries and the supply side, and also different capacity building, execution framework in place. So, and keep also monitoring the evaluation and about different initiatives. And also the plan that we have also strengthening the supply chain structure, and also on the solution technology, viability and affordability of solutions. That's some point that we are looking for, and also after sales service models in place, and also strengthening and building a payment model structure. Yes, thank you very much.
So our final speaker in this section, this learning section, is Alan. Are you here, Alan? Oh, no, sorry, I'm grouping people together. No, there you are.
Yeah, no, maybe that's my mistake in putting two names on the agenda. Sorry.
I see. Sorry, my apologies. Well, in that case, we're going to move on to a slightly different section, which is Jakub is going to be speaking next. Is he here? Yes, excellent. I'm sorry we haven't been introduced yet. Oh, Gerard, I'll get your slides going.
And hi everyone, it is a pleasure to be here and learn a lot from all the previous speakers about the food, energy and water nexus. I'm Jakub Vrba and I lead the energy access portfolio at Energy Saving Trust. And I'll spend the next 10 minutes to discuss the key challenges and barriers associated with solar irrigation in Malawi. Now, can we get it on the?
Yeah, it's a bit delayed.
No problem. Thank you. So now, very brief introduction to who we are. Energy Saving Trust is a mission-driven organization based here in Edinburgh, but we also have 3 offices across the UK. And our international energy access programs fall under the umbrella of Efficiency for Access, which is a global coalition that we co-manage together with CLASP. And our target is to double the efficiency and halve the cost of off-grid solar appliances. Now, the LEA program that I will talk about today focuses on research and innovation. So we provide research and development grants to companies. We conduct user and market research. We test products, like Soustain mentioned, with Verasol, which falls under the program. And we also drive the workforce and skills development in Sub-Saharan Africa and South Asia. Our focus is on a wide range of technologies, very much on the demand side, like Stuart mentioned, very important, not to look only on the supply side, but also demand. So that's what we are looking at. And solar water pumps are a very important part of it as one of the more mature technologies that we are working on. Now, as we heard from previous speakers, Rosa mentioned the majority of population in Malawi relies on farming, and many of the farmers do subsistence farming. So solar water pumps can really improve their lives and livelihoods, but there are a lot of barriers that need to be overcome first. And I bucketed them into 3 main areas focused on affordability, installation, operation and maintenance, and extension services. Now, starting with affordability, of course, a solar water pump is a relatively expensive technology if it needs to be paid upfront. So the companies really need to be innovative when it comes to the payment plans that they offer to their customers. Installation and maintenance, very important. Some people would claim that solar water pumps are plug and play, like radio or a television, but that's often not the case. Solar water pumps are very site specific. Farmers need to know how to operate them, and they often need to be installed by professional certified technicians. And then the companies also need on-the-ground presence to provide after-sales services for the product to operate for 5 to 10 years. And last but definitely not least, extension services are extremely important. The farmers need access to advice what crops to grow, how often they should irrigate them. They need access to market for the additional crops that they grow to actually sell for a fair price that's stable and predictable for them to actually make the most of the product. So all this combined contributes towards high cost of customer acquisition for companies. And that means that a solar water pump in Malawi can often be more expensive to the customers than in more mature markets like Kenya, for example, where some of these areas are already addressed by other actors than the companies themselves. Now, drilling a little bit deeper into affordability, when we look at the cost of a solar water pump, entry level, very small scale for maybe 1 acre, we are talking roughly 1.2 million Malawian kwacha. So that's more than 500 British pounds, which most farmers will not have the savings to pay it upfront. Now, we heard about pay-as-you-go, which is of course very important, but even the traditional pay-as-you-go, the farmers often need high deposit and then repay the product over usually 12 months or less. So again, not super affordable for many farmers. So there need to be some new innovative solutions when it comes to financing. One is concessional consumer financing, which is very common here in the global north. For example, in Scotland, we have been delivering zero interest loans on behalf of the Scottish government for more than a decade for households here in Scotland to buy small-scale renewable energy systems or purchase an electric vehicle. But this hasn't really been tested in Sub-Saharan Africa to date on a large scale. But if it was in Malawi, according to our modeling, we could increase the affordability significantly if we extended the repayment period to 5 years at zero interest to farmers. Another way how to overcome affordability is to do a purely service-based model where the farmers don't own the system. They only pay a service fee on a monthly basis, and then the companies take care of all the servicing, replacing the batteries, like Stuart mentioned, which is very important, and the farmers don't need to worry about the maintenance after they repay for the product. Now, let's look at a specific example how all these challenges are being overcome by one single company, and that's Wala, which is a women-led Malawian social enterprise. They have been operating in Malawi for a while, and they offer different agricultural technologies to smallholder farmers. With support from EAP Africa, we have provided grants to Vala to basically bundle all these three areas that we have discussed before, focus on affordability, installation and maintenance, and also on extension services that they could deliver to the farmers. So Vala have actually managed to partner with a microfinance institution in Malawi to extend the repayment period to 18 months. For farmers, they have trained them on business and farming skills, and they have managed to reach 3,000 farmers through this model based on the different farmer groups. More than half of these customers were women. They have reached 1/5 of their customers that were young people, and they also worked with the Chilaza disability group, who were able then to use the solar water pump and overcome the challenges with manual irrigation, which was very challenging for them before owning the solar water pump. So huge success, but of course there were quite a lot of challenges as part of this project. Number one, it was delivered in the midst of the COVID pandemic, which meant that there were significant supply chain disruptions and delays to getting the products to Malawi, which meant that they actually missed one of the harvest seasons at the beginning of the project. We have already talked about the importance of securing long-term contracts. So Val actually managed to sign a long-term contract with soybean off-takers who provided fair price to the farmers for a number of years. And also what is very important is that they procured very high-performing, high-quality solar water pumps. So they partnered with Lorenz, which is one of the largest solar water pump manufacturer based in Germany. The pump is high-performing, so that meant that multiple farmers from the group could irrigate their fields regularly without kind of every single farmer having their own pump. We have already talked about the importance of technical and after-sales support, but what I would really like to emphasize here is the need for long-term patient capital that could help companies like Vala to extend their repayment periods for their farmers, because most companies don't have access to that. That means that usually farmers have to repay for their equipment either paid upfront or repay very fast, and therefore the monthly repayments are too high for farmers to afford. Now, just to close up the presentation, in terms of our next steps, we are partnering with Solar Aid to conduct an evaluation exercise to look at Malawi in particular and how to close the affordability gap on productive use, but also solar home systems. So that will be the first step, and then we are hoping to run a demonstrator in the future to look purely at the energy as a service model, where the customers wouldn't own the system and they would only pay subscription on a monthly basis. Something that Solar Aid are already testing in Malawi and Zambia on solar home systems, or even only solar lights, so much lower tier products. We would like to extend it to productive use appliances. The reports I mentioned during the presentation, you can access them on our Efficiency for Access website, and I will be around, and my colleague Eli Grebenik also, if you would like to discuss anything further, if you would like us to introduce you to Vala, or if you would just be interested in collaboration with Energy Saving Trust. So yeah, that's me. Thank you very much.
A great presentation, thank you. So I think we're really at a sort of stage of taking some questions now. I've probably made the wrong executive decision by not taking questions after every talk. So one option I think would be, I'm not sure if there's any questions online at this stage. Chad?
Got one there. I don't know if you can see it. The insurance element related to access to finance is an interesting one for risk management versus scalability potential. EPD have listed this as a major challenge. Keen to know if they have any solutions they are piloting.
Well, now, so would any of our speakers like to have a go at that?
Read it out again, and I didn't quite catch it, but it's some reference to EPDs mentioned there as well, so.
Khadija, if I'm pronouncing your name correctly, are you still online? Would you like to just address your question to us? If you could unmute and put your camera on, you're most welcome. You're still with us? Or I could read it again.
I think we could try, I could have one more go at it, Chad, that would be appreciated.
Yeah, the insurance element related to access to finance is an interesting one for risk management versus scalability potential. EPD have listed this as a major challenge, keen to know if they have any solutions they are piloting.
Yes.
Please, Serge.
Okay, yeah, thank you. So you said that the mic can reach me.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you very much, Khadija. So there is a plan, there's an activity that you are planning very soon to see how we can bring financials. Those are the banks that we have. And currently there's some initiative on green funding. So that's it's been raised by different organizations in Rwanda. So I want to bring them on board and also bring the private sector on board and look for some, because I believe that there's some countries or other financials who have already, initiated this kind of access to finance in this PE or other, technologies. So I want to look on how we can develop some capacity building programs because I believe that bankers, they are not taking this kind of decision, not because they don't have money, but maybe because they don't understand the sector.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to see how we can have this kind of capacity building programs for bankers. I'm talking about financial institutions, and bring on board also the private sector and everyone who is availing some funds in this sector, so that they can understand very well different opportunities and also learning for other banks who have this kind of portfolio already. So this is the plan that we are looking for, to engage very soon. So this is one of the activity, and we'll keep engaging this kind of conversation with banks, to see how they can really grabbing very well and understand the energy sector opportunities.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, very good. Very good. I think I've got most of that. I have a question really, well, it's maybe an observation and then maybe people could comment on it. What I'm wondering is there a sort of culture of agricultural sort of growing associations and the like in Malawi or Rwanda or Zambia? There is in Scotland. People have like cooperatives around seed potatoes or flowers, and so that has been formed to create some resilience in that community. So if one group's like products fail, the others can pick some of that up. They also get a kind of collective buying power and they can share risk between them. So is there already a culture of that where groups of farmers group together and do things as a group? Soustain?
Yes, like in Malawi, we have actually a cooperative policy by the Malawi government, encouraging farmers to come together so that they can access capital, share machinery and other resources for increasing their level of productivity. And currently actually is going into a second phase of that project. It's funded by the World Bank and it's quite strong because when the farmers come together, apart from solving the capital issue, off-takers are identified with the support from the government and consultants, ensure that they have got a ready market for the products and services that they're doing. And it's actually diversified. It's not just crops. We're talking about fisheries, we're talking of forestry, talking of as well as agriculture and cash crops. That is being done. So I think that's a model that answers to many of the challenges that we're identifying. We're talking about access to capital, extension farming. By bringing farmers together, you can leverage on few extension workers to support the farmers. And when it comes to market access, the farmers can have market access. So when it comes to supporting or financing them, it's de-risked because they are together and they are traceable. Unlike maybe supporting a single farmer who may not have all the technical expertise to repay either a loan or to utilize any grants.
Indeed.
Thank you.
I think, and from my point of view, and maybe I always think of these things, that the more things you have to create, the harder it is, because you've got to try and bring people with you, whether they're financiers or government officials, or the people who are maybe getting to get the benefit from things. If it's a multi-stage process, if you do this, then this, then this, then this, then maybe this would work. It's just too much to carry people, I think. So I think leveraging things that already exist, so if there's a community and a culture there, then that's something I think that could be very powerful, basically. So any questions in the room for, from people in the room for our speakers this morning? Oh, could you introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, certainly. I'm Frances Guy. I'm from Scotland's International Development Alliance, and I'm looking forward to hearing some more from our speakers on Friday all around the SDG 7 at Strathclyde. So thank you for that. But I'd like to ask a question from a slightly different point of view. I used to be gender advisor in Middle East for UNDP, and one of the things we liked to promote was for microgrids. We had some projects in Somalia and Yemen, which are very different, obviously, from the countries you're talking about today. But those microgrids were managed by women, which then who then had the ownership of the electricity, if you like, which then created in itself a whole small and medium enterprise, I mean, really small enterprises, but it was incredible what access to a tiny amount of electricity could create in terms of entrepreneurial spirit and everything else. And what I wasn't clear from some of those presentations on the microgrids especially was who manages them, who owns them, where does that possibility of using a little bit of extra electricity, where does that go to? Who has leverage over it? And is there something in there that UNDP should be sharing with all of you guys?
Sure. Sustained. Do you want to answer?
Aaron can answer this question.
Oh, he can. I know he can.
Tembanji Mini-Grid was basically testing our business models on that. Aaron?
Yeah, so the Mithabanji microgrids are currently operated by Self-Help Africa, an NGO, and it's been a pilot project in partnership with Strathclyde and a charity. But long term, the ownership is transitioning to a social enterprise, Kiatsa. So that's the company limited by guarantee, and they're a social enterprise that will be owning and operating. There's benefits of full community ownership of microgrids, and that's being piloted with the Cooperative Association with support from USAID in Zambia, I think. The challenges we found is the capacity of the local community to run a microgrid, to look after the batteries, to do the business, and that needs some support, I think, from external partners. And in order to scale and become financially sustainable, you need to operate several microgrids, and that needs a company. But the interaction between the community, between treating them as purely customers or someone to make money from, or having them fully engaged in the project, is really essential to the sustainability and the impact of that project. And we're seeing like a lot of international companies going to Africa to see mini grids or microgrids as a big business opportunity, when it should really be looked at as a partnership with local organisations to reduce poverty and to address climate justice. Thanks.
Thank you, Ian. That's very good. Sustain.
Yeah, just to supplement Aaron's response. I think like in Malawi for about 5-7 years, we've been piloting different business models. One model actually was supported by Investor of Strathclyde. They installed a mini grid, Community Energy Malawi, whereby they built a mini grid and serving the community up to actually having 2 maize mills in the community, trying to commercialize it. The UNDP came in to de-risk part of the financing, and the UNDP actually has even supported with 3 more pilot mini grids, microgrids in different communities. One is an island, one is on land, to see how, in terms of sustainability and management of the mini grids could be done. Of recent, the NDP actually has just started another phase of the project, what we're calling a DRE. That's a de-risking renewable energy investment. Now they would like to pilot on how the investment from various sectors, various investors, commercial interests can be de-risked to ensure that people have got access to energy, scale it up. But at the very same time, it's not just charity, it's not just grants, but investments could be recouped, and we could scale up as many off grid and grid tied mini grids be possible. So I would say we are kind of moving from early stage to mid stage in terms of seeing how best mini grids, microgrids could work. On top of that, the bigger question, like for Malawi, has been what happens when the grid comes in, because with the mini grids currently, the tariff has to be a bit higher, but when the grid comes in, then the price actually has to be at par with the national energy prices. Now, what happens? Investors would have invested in that sector, and the grid comes in. So the feed-in tariff again is being worked on by the Malawi Energy Regulatory Authority, MERA, to ensure that we're looking ahead of the time on how best you could feed in from a mini grid into the main grid and ensure that the investments are protected and de-risked.
Yes.
So yeah, we are still kind of piloting, but moving forward.
That sounds very good. I think there's a number of models, I think, is the gist of it. And the PhD I very badly described at the beginning was essentially trying to look at just that, about the grid readiness or, you know, or otherwise, basically, for the grids. So thank you.
No, I'd like to add something.
Oh, I don't see you there, man.
For me, it's not adding essentially, but I also want to learn from you, maybe from your experience in Yemen or Somalia, the women who are managing the mini grids and microgrids. Just to add on what Soustain has shared in terms of the tariffs, we had a privilege to visit the Burkina Energy Society, and one thing that I appreciated is the fact that their tariffs in terms of feeding into the grid actually is profitable. I would say that. I just want to learn, how was your experience, if you've got any information? Okay, fine.
No, there's no grids. And we're talking about places where there's no electricity supply, so that wasn't part of the scenario at all.
I see.
We had to work out tariffs for people to be able to afford something, yes, but there's no grid to feed into, so there's no feeding in issues.
Fine, maybe just an extension to that. Was the demand maybe enough? Because one thing that we also noted is that many grids or microgrids, households sometimes are not adequate to take in the demand in terms of the market viability of the project. I don't know if you're getting.
Yeah, it's a good question. No, I'm not technically able to, but my impression was, but obviously, I can find the documents and share.
Sure, we can pick this up over just after the end of the meeting, I think, really, and on Friday when we see you at the University of Strathclyde.
Exactly.
Just another plug for our Global Renewables Centre, because although we've been talking about rural off-grid here in Edinburgh, it's difficult to imagine that some people in Scotland are on sort of like islanded microgrids, but there's quite a few. You'd be surprised, really. And often, you know, you mentioned, Serge, about the access to energy and how well the country was doing, but sometimes it doesn't, from an economic point of view, from the national government, it doesn't make sense for them financially to try and pick up the rest, everybody else. So I think that in some ways, although there's been a really great uptake in energy access in many places, it's also slowing as you start to gain bigger numbers. And I think that is another matter. So in Scotland, the people who are on the fringes of the Scottish grid, which would be in some of the islands in Scotland who are in the Western Isles, they are also off grid. They're running their own electricity systems. And actually, you know, if I squinted my eyes a little bit, they look like grids in Africa a little bit, a mixture of solar diesel hybrids that are being maintained by the people who live there, who have difficulty accessing expertise, who want to do more with their energy system, who want to integrate renewables, ... Very, very similar, just as much colder and wetter, I think, maybe. Damien.
Stuart, just on that, just to point out that we've got colleagues from Community Energy Scotland in the room. They're being quite quiet, but I think to follow up on that, if wants to hear a bit more, then grab them at the coffee break.
Absolutely, you can make yourselves visible, let's say, coffee. That'd be very good. Yes, so I think there's one or two more questions online. If we can maybe try and pick them off.
We do. Elizabeth, I don't know if you're still with us and if you'd like to come on camera and unmute for your question, or.
That would be excellent. Don't be
Hi,
shy.
everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. So my question is, I just wanted to understand from any of the presenters if they have any best practices from the technologies that they have been promoting that we can learn from and be able to extend that to the smallholder farmers here in Malawi. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Elizabeth. So briefly, would anybody like to volunteer any options? Your favourite renewable technology, perhaps, that would
Maybe
suit
while you're
farmers?
thinking, I'll read Delipso as well. I don't know if you're still with us, but just quickly, just because I know we're running out of time. What is the role of youth-led solutions in renewable energy? At REIAMA was the question, but I'm sure anybody would like to address youth there. And has consideration been given to employment of extension workers by banks? Extension business and agriculture is essential. Can this provide the lenders transaction cost of pay-as-you-go? Sale of small solar pumps are high, particularly if technology doesn't change. So there's a few questions there.
So anybody like to volunteer anything against any of those? Your favourite renewable solution for farmers? Reinforce the price that pumps are expensive, electric water pumps are expensive, perhaps? Anybody? I'm going to refrain from suggesting mine.
I'm going to volunteer our colleagues from Zarina to talk about the role of youth, because it's a very prominent part of their organisation.
Please.
Yes, I think I'll go for it. So, Zambia has kind of provided a community development fund for communities in Zambia, and there are a lot of initiatives that come to it, but I think what's key is, other than just relying on grants for communities to develop their projects, I think a huge share of the funds can come from government and of course partners, so these communities are mostly led by youth.
Okay.
And these youth needs, I think from the Gerard, youth needs to understand what that fund can do beyond maybe construction of roads and all that, to extend to having a more sustainable way of improving their well-being or their livelihoods through the integration of renewable energy to the agriculture and to the agriculture sector. So I think youth are very open to this opportunity, but it's the level of engagement and the level of knowledge in these renewable energies technologies and what they can do for the communities. So I think I was just talking with Chikuku that it would be good for us to more or less organize a forum with these community development leaders, so that we try and educate them more on renewable energies. So other than Zarena, I think we have partnered with Engineers Without Borders, who scope areas that have having climate change impacts and provide solar pumping systems for them. So just last week, with support from WWF, World Fund for Nature, we got a grant to support these communities. And I think that can be used to scale up to other communities. And if they have funds, it would be a good opportunity for them to inject into this project so that they can have more economic activities in the community.
Yes. Very good.
Yeah, just to add on to what my colleague has said, another role of the youth, specifically which is arena, is to create awareness about renewable energy and climate change. The youth are so big on social media. They are the ones who are spreading out and telling their families about renewable energy and the different opportunities that are there even for young people. Renewable energy is not like a really big thing in our schools back home. So the exposure to that is kind of developed after university. And so once our youths in that sector or in Zarina join us, they are used to champion that to the others. And one of the projects that we had recently, we we took our youth to one of the rural areas in Zambia, Galloway district, where we were kind of like role models for the people, even in the
Yes.
rural sector,
Yes.
so that they can do something about, climate change, and also just to explain in the most basic sense about renewable energy and how it's going to benefit everyone, everywhere.
Yes. Thank you. I think many people all resonate quite well with them, I think. Can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi, my name is Cameron McAllister. I'm one of the directors of Chikuku Power in northern Malawi. We harness Mancheway poles and generate and distribute electricity about 120 houses and different businesses in that area. At the moment, we're just charging a flat rate for all our customers because we don't have meter boxes installed. We're working with the UNDP to put those into place. But I was wondering if any of the speakers have any suggestions as to what technology is the best to distribute electricity and to take payments from different users in a mini grid.
Any suggestions?
I don't.
I know we know, but it's good to know what you know. Yeah. So I think there's a number of options, obviously, that's the thing. But equally, there's a trust thing, there's a social acceptance, and there's a functionality aspect to it. You know, when you're putting something in, you want it to work. So I think some of these will be some of the things that you're trying to, feature, I guess, in your solutions that you're looking for. Yeah. Hopefully somebody else will volunteer something good over lunch. That would be good.
Yeah,
Yeah. Great. Anybody else?
I think there's a question there online. There's bankers. Maybe Natasha can address a question about
that'd be good.
Extension workers being employed by banks.
Right, I'm not sure what that is. Could you elaborate?
From Standard Bank Malawi.
Charles, however, I believe is there. This question.
Charles.
Hi, in Vietnam, I saw banks employing extension workers. So they would make loans to small scale farmers, particularly for cattle. And along with that loan came an extension worker. That A, helped the farmer, and B, gave the bank a better chance of getting its money back. And I wondered any consideration being given to that. Malawi has lots of agricultural graduates. Malawi Fruits, we employ a lot of them. And it's maybe a direction to think of going in. But our experience with small-scale water pumps, of which we've sold probably about 600 or 700, one is the cost, as I've written on the chat line, the capital cost of importing that number. So the news that there might be a reduction in import tax is extremely welcome. But the other point is our evaluation showed that unless there was a change in what the farmer was doing, it didn't necessarily lead to large-scale changes. The evaluation showed that some farmers merely used the pump to save themselves carrying around buckets of water. They put it in the shed when they'd finished working and didn't lend it to anyone else, didn't hire it out, didn't change the crop technology, didn't grow any additional crops. So thinking that a pump alone is a silver bullet, and it's been said before, is just not facing up to facts. So if you can embed it in a business model that you develop with the farmer, changing their technology at the same time, I think it's got a better chance of success. And I think Malawi also needs to look seriously at crop diversification, not only to overcome this problem of importing stuff that it can grow for itself. I see on the shelves in Maluza lots of imports from South Africa, but looking for high value crops that can be grown without using land which is usable for other things, perhaps cinnamon, ginger, turmeric, because Malawi really lacks something that it can export at a large scale. So it maybe needs to go for smaller things that have higher value.
Good suggestions there, I think. Thank you, Charles. I think that model you mentioned is an interesting one. And because I think the thing that resonates slightly with for me is the Innovate UK KTP scheme, which you may be aware of, which is not for international development, but it's for fostering knowledge transfer and expertise in the UK businesses. Now you're talking about a slightly different variant on that, but it's the person that comes with it that empowers it in some way and makes it work. So I think we'll be worth chatting about that in a bit more detail, I think. We've got a question from Rosa, I think.
Oh, I just, I saw one of the questions from Humphrey that I think if we're not running over too
No,
much,
please, we've got a couple of minutes left and then I think we'll finish up.
just because the work that my organization Tiyeni does is quite relevant to that. So talking about water being a scarce resource, especially for farmers, one of the reasons that it's such an issue is because decades of unsustainable farming methods have created this hard pan layer of compacted soil, which means that there's a lot of water runoff, soil erosion, and so like water isn't being, especially with a place like Malawi where so much of the agriculture is rain fed, then these systems aren't fully, I suppose, making use of the rain as much as it could be. So using different forms of energy, or not of energy, of agriculture that promote, for example, rainwater infiltration, one of the things that we do, as well as water catchment and management. Ours has been, like, for example, with deep bed farming, then it decreases soil erosion by 50% and decreases water runoff by 80% and also increases the has been shown to increase the soil moisture content by like 50 to 250%, depending on the climate, because obviously it varies quite a lot depending on where you are in Malawi. Yeah, and so soil health as well, like one of the things that this type of farming method does is increase biodiversity, which means that, you know, microorganisms within the soil make the soil more able to get water infiltration. Roots can grow deeper, which, you know, helps with soil erosion and also crops' ability to withstand things like drought. So I think that, yeah, that's not to say that this solves everything, but transition to sustainable farming, especially stuff that incorporates water catchment and soil health and looks at it as a holistic thing rather than just individual aspects. Like the health of the soil is important to the health of the plants. How healthy the plants is related to how much nutrition they have and how well they can feed families. So in addition to doing that conservation agriculture really, or regenerative agriculture, really making sure that people are aware of how this, how integrated everything is. So yeah, I'd say that that's, especially because of how many people are farmers in Malawi, then I'd say that that's a big way of addressing that in part.
Great. Thank you. You have very much of a point there. It's a holistic system, I think, not just one single item. So with regret, I think we're going to have to finish up. So I hope you will join me, people online, maybe in their own homes, and here in the room, thanking our speakers today for some very interesting conversations and insights. I'm going to have that to Chad, and he's going to close. You think I know Stuart? Wow, right, great.
Just to keep you on interest.
That's right.
I think because I've got one of the Renewable Forum names, Stuart, I'm getting to say some closing remarks. I think it's been a really rich session, and thank you very much for taking the time to come in person and to appear online and join us remotely. We've great thanks to the Global Renewables Centre because they have brought Malawi, Zambia, Rwanda, Scotland, and I'm sure other countries together. Brilliant for south-to-south communications and collaboration, as well as two-way learning for and with us in Scotland, which the University of Strathclyde, I must say, are always very strong on the learning that they derive from working with partner countries. It's Stuart and Damien and Aaron that are the driving forces behind this forum at the University of Strathclyde, and Chad does all of the heavy lifting at this end of the Scotland-Malawi partnership, supported by Dorothea and Natasha. So thanks very much to them for all of that. I think really exciting progress and possibilities that we've heard about today, and as well as having a water, food, energy nexus. I think it's been a nexus of people and sectors that we've had today. Really important, I think, that we've heard about the essential nature of the involvement of women and of youth, crucial in agriculture and in development, and of practicalities of financing and affordability for people to access the technology, and about maintenance for sustainability. After today, slides will be shared from the presentations, as will the chat log. There'll be a time-stamped video of today's session. And so it really just remains for us to thank the chair, Stuart, and speakers Soustain, Emmanuel, Rosa, Chikuku, Chilombo, Serge, Jakub, and you all for coming. Thanks very much indeed. Take care.